Welcome to What Healing Knows. Before we begin, take one breath with me, a small return to yourself. Healing often begins in moments exactly like this one. After more than 20 years in medicine, one truth has remained constant. The body already knows how to heal. What it needs is for us to listen. And this space is an invitation to do exactly that, to slow down, to listen, and to notice what rises before the mind rushes to explain its way. I'm Dr. Kidi, and welcome to Segment 4, Honoring Truth, Episode 4, Making Room for Truth, Returning when the mind pulls you away. In this reflection, we explore what happens when silence arrives and the mind scatters, pulling us away from what the body most needs us to hear. And it's about learning to return again and again to the present moment so that the body's truth finally has enough room to be felt. Sit back, relax, and listen to heal. Making room for truth. The return does not begin with stillness. It begins with noticing that you have left. There is a particular kind of noise that has no sound. In the Quaker tradition, gatherings often begin in silence. That evening, 50 or so parents settled into their seats carrying questions, opinions, and the urgency of lives already full. And the moderator invited us to be silent, and the room obeyed. I was comfortable enough for the first few minutes, but as the silence stretched, something in me began to resist. Not dramatically, but quietly. A tightening in my chest, a restlessness in my hands, a reaching towards something I could not name. I did stop my hands before it reached my phone, but I could not stop what came next. Thoughts arrived like small thieves. I kept thinking I need to go to the store after this, or I should have called the bank, or when did my friend say I should call her back? Or I need to change a line in my story. Nothing urgent, nothing important, yet each thought pulled a piece of my attention away from the room and away from my body. By the time the moderator spoke again, I was physically present, but internally scattered. My mind had taken what was whole and broken it into fragments, each moving in different directions. I now open What Healing Knows workshops with a moment of silence. And at every session, I recognize the same discomfort in participants that I have felt in the Quaker hall. Eyes shifting, bodies fidgeting, hands reaching for phones, notebooks, anything that might fill the space before the silence asked something of them. What fascinates me is that the discomfort does not come from the silence itself. It actually comes from what the silence reveals. Without the usual noise, we begin to hear from what the body tries to communicate. Slow down, stay here, pay attention. But the body speaks quietly, and the unfinished task speaks louder. So we fill the silence with lists, plans, and distractions, not because they matter more, but because the noise feels easier than knowing the truth. And this episode is about making enough room to hear the body's truth. What scatters us? Most of us have been taught that a wandering mind is a failing mind. We've been told to focus, to concentrate, to stay on task. And so when silence arrives and the mind immediately begins pulling us towards the grocery list or the conversation we should have had differently, we experience it as a personal inadequacy, proof that we're not disciplined enough, not present enough, or not still enough. But the mind that scatters in silence is not broken. It's doing exactly what it learned to do. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network, a system in the brain that becomes active when we're not focused on a specific task. It replays the past, it rehearses the future, and it scans for unfinished businesses and unresolved problems. And in evolutionary terms, this was useful. Our ancestors survived because their brains remained alert to potential threats and opportunities. A mind that constantly scans the horizon was more likely to stay alive. Today, however, most of us are not watching for predators, yet the brain continues to scan for what might go wrong, what needs attention, and what has been left unfinished. A brain designed to protect us can always keep us from hearing ourselves. How? It often overestimates danger, sending the mind searching for what needs to be solved. But while the mind travels, the body remains. And we scatter in the distance between where the mind goes and where the body remains. And when we scatter, we lose access to what the body knows. Our thoughts become louder, silence becomes unbearable, not because nothing was there, but because something was. The silence was full of everything I had not had time to feel, and the mind, faithful to its training, reached for anything that would keep me from feeling it. The grocery list was not really about groceries. The bank call was not really about the bank. They were convenient places for my attention to go. Anywhere but the discomfort waiting beneath the silence. Anywhere but the feeling that had not yet found words. We call this distraction, but it's closer to armor. And like all armor, it keeps out what might hurt and also what might heal. It keeps the noise high enough that the body's quieter signal cannot be heard. That's what the scattering costs us over time. Not just presence, not just peace, it costs us access to the body's truth, a wisdom that can only be heard when we return to the present moment. The 10-5-5C practice, making room for truth. The return does not begin with stillness. It begins with noticing, without judgment, that you have followed a thought away from the present and then returning to your breath again and again. Notice it. First, notice that you have scattered. You do not need to change it, you only need to notice it. Then count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Not because counting is magic, but because the mind that has been scattering in 50 directions needs something small and gentle to hold while the noise begins to settle. And as you breathe, the thoughts will start coming. The store, the bank, the friends, let them come, let them pass. Each time you notice a thought has carried you away, you have already returned. And the noticing is the returning. No frustration with yourself for having drifted. You were there and now you're here. Here is the breath. Here is the chest. Here is the floor beneath your feet. Here is the body. This is how fragments begin to gather. Not all at once, but over days and weeks of returning. And as the noise quiets, you will begin to hear what the body has been trying to say, not all at once, but in small recognitions. The fatigue hidden under the hustle, the silent awareness that something requires focus. Your body has been signaling this for quite some time, and only now are you creating enough space to listen. If you'd like a guided companion for this practice, The full 5C, Making Room for Truth audio meditation is available on YouTube at Dr. Kidi. Closing reflection. I often think about the Quaker meeting room, parents sitting together in silence, their thoughts arriving, my attention scattering, and with it, my ability to hear what the silence might have offered. Now I understand the silence was not asking me to empty my mind. It was asking me to notice how easily I could leave myself without even leaving my seat. It was asking me to pause, to return, to listen to the body. Perhaps that's what truth often asks of us, that we return often enough and stay long enough to hear what has been waiting beneath the noise. If you're still here, something in you has already said yes. This is not a small thing. This is the fire beginning to stir. Thank you for letting me walk beside you on this healing journey. If this reflection spoke to something in you, share your thoughts in the comments. Your words matter here, and they often become the reminder someone else needs to hear. And if you share your experiences on social media, find me on Instagram at drkidi.healing. I would love to stay connected on this path with you. Until next time, keep listening, keep returning. Healing knows the way. With love and more love, Dr. Kidi.